All right, welcome to the live stream. Going to focus today really on two things. The hearing earlier today with a bunch of people that I'll talk about in a second and tell you who was at the Senate Intel hearing today. But most importantly, the released James Comey opening testimony from tomorrow, and arguably the most anticipated testimony of this kind in a really, really long time. And the opening statement from James Comey has been released, so we know what he's going to say. And as someone was saying in the chat before I started, it reads like a really great novel, and we're going to go through it. So, two links in the video description today, okay? First link is to a PDF. This is James Comey's testimony for tomorrow, okay? Check that out. I'm going to be going through pieces of it shortly. Second link is to the Lawfare blog, and they are so it's an initial commentary about what James Comey will say tomorrow that's really, really good. So feel free to open up both of those links. I'm going to be going through them. I will also be taking questions via Super Chat, and on that note, if this is your first live stream with me, welcome, number one. Number two, we're really live. I'm sitting here talking to you right now, assuming that it's 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time on June 7th, 2017. If it's any other time, then you're watching a replay. Number two, Super Chat is on. The chat moves quickly sometimes, but if you want to get a question or comment that I will read and respond to if necessary, you can use the Super Chat. That's the $ at the bottom of the chat. Number three, if you sign up for membership or become a patron during the live stream, I will sing your praises and thank you and talk about how great you are live on the stream. Those two options are at davidpakman.com/membership for the first and patreon.com/davidpakmanshow for the second. Number four, there are moderators moderating the chat. Obvious trolling and hate will get you banned, blocked, call it whatever you want, okay? Subtle trolling will probably not get you banned because we won't notice it, because by definition it is subtle, okay? So feel free to start using Super Chat, sign up for those memberships, Patreon, whatever. So let's start going through together James Comey's testimony. So I have no easy way of showing you the document as I scroll it. So if you want to use the PDF link in the description and page along with me, that might be the best way to do it, okay? And I'll tell you what page I'm on. The link is in the description, and we're going to start looking at some of the things here. Let's start at the bottom of page 2 with the January 27th dinner. Everything that leads up to that is more general about why James Comey decided to start taking notes at his meetings with Donald Trump. And I want to focus in, because I'm not going to read through every word here with you. At the bottom of page 2, the heading, January 27 dinner, which starts with James Comey explaining, the president and I had dinner on Friday, January 27th, 6:30 p.m. in the green room at the White House. He called me, invited me to dinner that night, said next time he'll invite my home family. Turned out to be just the two of them. And then it starts to get into the good stuff near the top of page 3. The president started by asking me whether I wanted to stay on as FBI director, which I found strange because he had earlier told me twice that he hoped I would stay. I assured him I intended to. He said lots of people wanted my job, and given the abuse I had taken during the previous year, he would understand if I wanted to walk away. And James Comey immediately zeroes in the testimony on why Donald Trump would keep asking about whether he wants the job, saying, my instincts told me that the one-on-one setting and the pretense that this was our first discussion about my position meant the dinner was at least in part an effort to have me ask for my job and create some sort of patronage relationship. That concerned me greatly given the FBI's traditionally independent status in the executive branch. Skip ahead a paragraph where James Comey reports that the president said, I need loyalty, I expect loyalty. And this next line near the bottom of page 3 is just stunning. It's like out of a movie. I didn't move, speak, or change my facial expression in any way during the awkward silence that followed. We simply looked at each other in silence. The conversation then moved on, but he returned to the subject near the end of our dinner. This is more interesting than House of Cards Season 5. And I know people say once I get to episodes 6 and 7 of Season 5, it's going to get really good again. But through episode 5 of Season 5, what James Comey is describing here, an effective staring contest with the President of the United States, as the President of the United States suggests to James Comey that he needs loyalty and expects loyalty. There has not been a scene that intense in Season 5 of House of Cards through episode 5, which is as far as I've gotten, okay? So let's start there. Again, this near the end of our dinner, now I'm at the bottom of page 3. Near the end of our dinner, the president returned to the subject of my job, saying he was very glad I wanted to stay, adding that he had heard great things about me from Jim Mattis, Jeff Sessions, and others. He then said, "I need loyalty." I replied, "You will always get honesty from me." He paused and then said, "That's what I want, honest loyalty." I paused and then said, "You will get that from me." As I wrote in the memo I created immediately after the dinner, it is possible we understood the phrase honest loyalty differently, but I decided it wouldn't be productive to push it further. Last thing before we move on to the February 14th meeting, there's this other paragraph at the top of page 4. During the dinner, the president returned to the salacious material I had briefed him about on January 6th, and as he had done previously, he expressed his disgust for the allegations and strongly denied them. He said he was considering ordering me to investigate the alleged incident to prove it didn't happen. This suggests incredible ignorance from Trump, and James Comey explains why here by saying, I reply that he should give that careful thought because it might create a narrative that we were investigating him personally, which we weren't, and because it was very difficult to prove a negative. He said he would think about it and asked me to think about it. So what can we glean from this so far? A couple things. Number one, James Comey was clearly not comfortable with the types of conversations and types of requests that were being made by Donald Trump. And that caused him to approach the meetings with Trump differently than meetings he had with President Obama. With President Obama, he did not take notes. With the Trump meetings, he describes in the PDF, which, by the way, if you don't know where I'm reading from, in the first link in the video description is the PDF of James Comey's testimony tomorrow, which has been released, his opening testimony. He describes that he, as soon as he went out to the FBI vehicle after one of these meetings, immediately started taking notes. So there were red flags here for James Comey early. And number two, it also points to Donald Trump's sort of lack of filter in terms of what he says to James Comey, having either no sense or total disregard for what is and isn't appropriate of a supposedly independent law enforcement agency, intelligence agency like the FBI. So this is already fascinating. Now, what we've learned, and I have no interest in distorting or hiding what's here. Donald Trump said that 3 times James Comey told him he's not under investigation. This document does not confirm that 3 times Comey told Trump he's not under investigation, but there's no doubt that by telling Donald Trump, you should think about that because it might create a narrative that we were investigating you personally, which we are not. That certainly is, Trump said, Comey said, I'm not under investigation. That is not literally saying that, but it is effectively saying that. If you do X, it will create the narrative that you're under personal investigation, directly implying that you are not under personal investigation. Let's go to the February 14th Oval Office meeting, okay? This starts in the second half of page 4, and he describes in the first couple of paragraphs, to sum it up quickly because we don't have to go into the details of that it was a meeting with a number of people, Kushner, Sessions, and that Donald Trump insisted that he wanted to speak only to Mike Flynn. Only to James Comey about Mike Flynn, starting with, the president began by saying, I want to talk about Mike Flynn. This was the day after Michael Flynn had resigned in shame after lying about his contacts with Russian officials. So at the top of page 5 now of the PDF, that is the first link in the video description if you're just joining us, the president began by saying Flynn hadn't done anything wrong in speaking with the Russians, but he had to let him go because he had misled the vice president. He added that he had other concerns about Flynn, which he did not then specify. The president then made a long series of comments about the problem with leaks of classified information, a concern I shared and still share. After he had spoken for a few minutes about leaks, Reince Priebus leans in through the door by the grandfather clock, and I could see a couple people waiting behind Priebus. The president waved at him to close the door, saying he'd be done shortly. The door was closed. Here is one of the, arguably the key paragraph of this entire PDF, which is on page 4, second full paragraph of the page. The president then returned to the topic of Mike Flynn, saying he's a good guy and has been through a lot. He repeated that Flynn hadn't done anything wrong on his calls with the Russians, but had misled the vice president. But without even going further, this is already inappropriate, okay? And the Benjamin Witt's commentary on this, on the Lawfare blog, talks about this. This is already inappropriate in that you are supposed to have independence here. This is not a situation where Donald Trump is testifying or being questioned by the FBI about what we now know to be an ongoing investigation. This is already inappropriate. It's not illegal, but it's already inappropriate. Trump goes on. He then said, I hope you can see your way clear to letting this go, to letting Flynn go. He is a good guy. I hope you can let this go. I replied only, I being James Comey's narrative, he is a good guy. I did not say I would let this go. The president returned briefly to the problem of leaks. I then got up and left out of the door by the grandfather clock, making my way through the large group of people waiting there, including Mr. Priebus and the vice president. In the second to last paragraph of page 5, James Comey describes that he immediately prepared a memo about this and discussed it with FBI senior leadership. Let's now go. Okay, so what we've seen, let's assess what we've seen so far here. Donald Trump claimed, Comey told me 3 times I wasn't under investigation. It does appear that Comey intimated that at that moment, Donald Trump was not individually under investigation. So Trump at least telling a partial truth there. Just as had been reported by numerous media outlets, Donald Trump did ask ask James Comey to lay off of the Michael Flynn investigation under the pretense that, according to Trump, Flynn had done nothing wrong. As reported, that is exactly the way James Comey will describe it during testimony tomorrow, okay? Immediately, that has been confirmed according to James Comey's narrative. Now is where we start getting into the new stuff that I was not necessarily expecting from the March 30th phone call. So if you're just joining us, and there's over 2,000 of you watching with me here, if you're just joining us, we're discussing the released James Comey testimony that he will be giving as his opening statement tomorrow before the Senate Intelligence Panel. The link to the PDF is the first link in the video description down below. We are on page 6 at the sort of near the middle of page 6, starting with the March 30th phone call. And this to me is a whole nother level, okay? On the morning of March 30th, the president called me at the FBI. He described the Russia investigation as a cloud that was impairing his ability to act on behalf of the country. He said he had nothing to do with Russia, had not been involved with hookers in Russia, referencing, of course, that blackmail file, and had always assumed he was being recorded when in Russia. Stop right there. If Donald Trump maintains he's never had anything to do with Russia, has not really done business with Russia other than that Miss whatever pageant it was, just has nothing to do with Russia, why would he necessarily assume that everything he's doing in Russia is being recorded? In other words, would a average person assume that when they're in Russia, they're being recorded? Maybe now you would, but that is a sort of bizarre comment, right? I've never been involved with Russia, nothing to do with Russia, and I've always assumed I was being recorded when in Russia. Not exactly the type of thing someone thinks about who has, quote, nothing to do with Russia ever. Sort of odd, okay? Back to James Comey's testimony, page 6 of the PDF. He asked what we could do to lift the cloud. I responded that we were investigating the matter as quickly as we could and that there would be great benefit if we didn't find anything to our having done the work well. He agreed, but then re-emphasized the problems that this was causing him. Then the president asked why there had been a congressional hearing about Russia the previous week, at which I had, as the Department of Justice directed, confirmed the investigation into possible coordination between Russia and the Trump campaign. I explained the demands from the leadership of both parties in Congress for more information, that Senator Grassley had even held up the confirmation of the deputy AG until we briefed him in detail on the investigation. I explained that we had briefed the leadership of Congress, blah, 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 blah. He repeatedly told me we need to get that fact out. What fact is that? The fact that Trump is not being personally investigated at the time. Okay? Second time that James Comey confirms that assertion from Donald Trump. Again, I'm just interested in the facts. I have no interest in hiding the fact that James Comey's testimony tomorrow will corroborate Donald Trump's assertion that Comey told him that he was not under personal investigation at the time. No problem. The president went on to say that if there were some satellite associates of his who did something wrong, it would be good to find that out, but that he hadn't done anything wrong and hoped I would find a way to get it out that we weren't investigating him. Skip the next paragraph, go to the second to last one of this call. He finished by stressing the cloud that was interfering with his ability to make deals for the country. Doesn't sound like Trump, right? And said he hoped I could find a way to get out that he wasn't being investigated. I told him I would see what we could do and that we would do our work as well and as quickly as we could. What's relevant about this? What's relevant about this is that we did not previously know that there had been discussion specifically about the cloud that the Russia investigation was putting over Trump. Remember, after the firing of James Comey during the Lester Holt interview, Donald Trump said, hey, you know what? The entire Russia thing was a cloud over my head, and it was on my mind when I fired James Comey. What James Comey will testify to tomorrow is that they had discussed the cloud that Donald Trump felt was over his head because of this Russia investigation. And I think given the context and the comment earlier during the Oval Office meeting that I relayed to you earlier, 10 minutes ago, that this is actually a persistent trend by Donald Trump, if not always directly like with the Michael Flynn instance, to indirectly say, Jimmy, it'd be really great if you could lay off the Russia stuff, right? That is effectively what Donald Trump is saying here. And this is why James Comey was right to be saying, hey, you know what? I started taking notes after every meeting because I was finding it incredibly disturbing what was going on. The other aspect of this that I want to point to is this last half of page 7. If you're just joining us, nearly 3,500 of you now are, we are looking at the PDF that is the first link in the video description here, which is James Comey's planned testimony for tomorrow about Donald Trump. The April 11th phone call at the end of page 7. This is the very end of the document. On the morning of April 11th, the president called me and asked what I had done about his request that I get out, that he is not personally under investigation. I think at this point, this is what we would call bullying by the executive branch of the supposedly independent FBI. I replied that I had passed his request to the acting deputy attorney general, but I had not heard back. He replied that the cloud was getting in the way of his ability to do his job. He said that perhaps he would have his people reach out to the acting deputy attorney general. I said that was the way his request should be handled. I said the White House counsel should contact the leadership of the Department of Justice to make the request. He said, listen to this, he would do that and added, because I have been very loyal to you, very loyal. We had that thing, you know. I did not reply or ask him what he meant by that thing. I said only that the way to handle it, was to have the White House counsel call the acting deputy AG. He said that's what he would do, and the call ended. That's the last time I spoke with President Trump. This dialogue is reminiscent of The Sopranos. Jimmy, I've been very loyal to you, you know. We had that thing together. What are you doing to get out what I told you about? What are you doing about that, Jimmy? This is incredibly disturbing. And I now want to, actually, let's pause there real quick, okay? Then I'm going to get into the legal analysis and a couple other things. Real quick from the super chat. Frank McWright sent a $20 super chat. James Comey may have his recordings, memos. Isn't it just a case of his word against Trump's? Trump will deny everything. That's an easy for him. Who would have the courage to call one or the other a liar? Even so, then what? Frank, you're right. This is basically hearsay based on who was in the room at the time, and it was Trump and Comey, admittedly. Contemporaneous notes by an FBI director, meaning notes taken immediately after such a meeting, are considered reliable testimony and evidence. They are generally considered in proceedings like these reliable. It is not like you hear generally, hey, eyewitness testimony in criminal cases is not generally reliable. Contemporaneous notes from intelligence professionals like James Comey are generally considered reliable. So James, you're thinking, hey, Comey says A, Trump says B, they deny what the other says, it's a net zero. No. These types of notes from an intelligence official like Comey are considered reliable. Melissa Deline sent a $5 super chat, and Saladin67 sent a 20 Canadian dollar super chat. Thanks very much. I do appreciate that. So the other thing I want to point to, we've been going through, if you're just joining me, over 4,000 of you now. Thanks to everybody who's watching. We have been talking about James Comey's upcoming testimony tomorrow about his conversations with Donald Trump. If this is your first live stream, we are live right now. Super chat is on. Use the $ at the bottom of the chat for questions and comments. I will get to those. Number 3, new members and patrons. The number 2 ways our program is funded are through membership and patronage. New members and patrons will get live thank yous and shout outs during the stream. I will sing your praises, but not right now. I have other stuff to get to as far as the Comey testimony. You can sign up for membership at davidpakman.com/membership, Patreon at patreon.com/davidpakmanshow. Please don't troll. Obvious trolling and hate will get you banned. I've been seeing people getting banned here and there as the chat goes by. Daniel Smeltzer, one of our great moderators, has just blocked someone. Gloom Skull, one of our other moderators who also moderates our Reddit discussion forum, has just blocked someone, and by all means, the moderators have been deputized to keep the riffraff down, and there's a particularly high amount of riffraff today. Let's go now to the second link that I've put for you in the description to this YouTube video, okay? It is a link to the Lawfare blog analysis by Benjamin Wittes about the James Comey testimony, okay? I'm not going to go through this entire thing. I encourage you to read this. I've bookmarked, I'm going to be on a plane tomorrow, and I've bookmarked this entire article to read in detail, but I've scanned over it already. This is a really, really good, quick reaction to James Comey's anticipated commentary tomorrow before the Senate Intelligence Panel. Benjamin Wittes explains the sort of general demeanor of Comey and the context in which he has prepared these remarks, as well as more specific analyses about individual paragraphs and assertions that James Comey makes. I encourage you to look at it. One of the sort of general themes that Benjamin Wittes gleans from this is that Comey is talking about how immediately he was sort of alarmed and distrustful of Trump based on his behavior, and how Trump's behavior caused a change in how James Comey dealt with the president that was not the same as how he felt he had to deal with with Trump's predecessor, Barack Obama. That's number one. The other thing that Benjamin Wittes points out, and this is why anytime there's testimony like this, it's hard to anticipate whether everybody will sort of get it, right? And Benjamin Wittes explains here, and I'm quoting from about halfway through the second link in the video description, it's hard to express to people who are not steeped in federal law enforcement just how inappropriate these inquiries are, okay? This is referring to the inquiries from Trump of Comey, particularly when they involve an investigation in which the president has such deep and multifaceted personal stakes. No, they are not illegal. The president has constitutional authority to ask for whatever information he wants from his subordinates in the executive branch. But of course, the president also has the authority to give the State of the Union address in Latin and have it consist entirely of obscenities directed at the Speaker of the House. To people who know the norms of federal law enforcement, the conduct described here is closer to that end of the spectrum of presidential behavior than it is to the normal range. Whether ultimately a crime was committed by the request made of James Comey by Donald Trump to stop the investigation into Michael Flynn remains to be seen. It's in a sense a sort of moot point because the president can be civilly sued while president, but it's effectively impossible to charge the president with crimes while they are president of the United States. And so that's not, if Trump is ultimately brought down by this, it's not going to be because of a charge of a crime. More than likely, Jeffrey Toobin, legal analyst, has written a few things about that already, and so I wouldn't put my eggs in that basket. But check out the entire Benjamin Witt's commentary. Read, if you haven't, the full 7 pages. I mean, it'll take you, 7 minutes? It's about a minute a page to read James Comey's testimony. The question tomorrow is we know what the testimony is, right? The question will be, what else is teased out of James Comey from the senators who will be on that panel? And my prediction is it's not going to be that much. Although, and what am I going by? I'm going by the appearance today before the same panel by NSA Director Admiral Mike Rogers, Assistant Attorney General Rosenstein, Dan Coates, the Director of National Intelligence, and who was the fourth person on that panel? Andrew McCabe, Acting FBI Director for the time being. They basically answered nothing. And there was a surreal moment. I don't know if you watched this. If you didn't, you can easily find this. There was a surreal moment where Dan Coates was asked by Senator Angus King, great line of questioning, what is the legal basis for your refusal to answer these questions? And Dan Coates said, I don't know that I have a legal basis. I just don't think I should answer. And it was bogus. I mean, it was absolutely bogus. If you're not talking about classified information, if the White House had not invoked executive privilege, and if there's no legal reason that you can come up with not to answer, it's basically just saying, I don't want to answer. And all 4 of the men who were on that panel today used that answer. I hope that James Comey doesn't do that tomorrow. We will see. We will see, and I will be watching very, very closely. Let me do some thank yous right now because there's a lot of these that are accumulating. We are suffering greatly, folks. I wish it were different, but we are suffering greatly. Let me actually show the articles first. At the hands of the YouTube advertiser boycott. The New York Times has taken an interest in what is happening too. And I say happening too because we really are sort of just victim observers in this entire thing. The YouTube advertiser boycott, which started as a result of a Wall Street Journal article, is crushing the David Pakman Show. We've lost 2/3 of our YouTube revenue. And that's money that we have to make up because YouTube is a big part of what we do. It's a big part of funding our staff salaries. It's a big part of paying for our studio and connectivity and distribution of our show to 200 radio and TV stations. It's so bad that the New York Times wrote about the David Pakman Show YouTube channel problems. And you can read this article at davidpakman.com/press. Additionally, Wired has also written an article about what's going on with the David Pakman Show YouTube channel called Want a Better Web? Here's an Idea, Pay for It, by Davey Alba. Great article. You can read that at davidpakman.com/press as well. So we basically need to make up the money. That's the bottom line here. There's a couple of ways that we're trying to do that. One is through Patreon, patreon.com/David Pakman Show. This could not possibly be easier. You go to patreon.com/David Pakman Show. We have surpassed 1,500 patrons. I love to get to 1,750 before it's too late. You can make a contribution of as little as $1 a month. Every dollar basically replaces the lost revenue from 3 YouTube subscribers, okay? If only 10% of our subscriber base pledges $1, the problem is over and we can forget about the entire YouTube ad boycott. So on that note, thanks to Michael King, who just pledged $2 a month. Thanks to Louise Tremblay, who just pledged $5 a month. And there's also a bunch of people who pledged just before we started. So I'm not sure if they are actually on the stream or not. Keep those pledges coming. Don't think that because you can only do $1 a month, you might as well not do anything. If everybody did $1 a month who could, this problem disappears. Membership. You can go to davidpakman.com/membership. You can select either a monthly or yearly membership. You can take that red dot and drag it as far to the right as you want in terms of how you want to support us. And then after clicking that red sign up button on page 2 of the sign-up process, there is a coupon code field pointed out by this red arrow. If you want a 40% discount, okay? If you want a 40% discount, you don't need to do it. If it's not necessary, don't take the discount. If you want the discount, take it. You can use the coupon code IVOTED17. You'll save 40%, okay? Some of the great member benefits include that every single day we do an extra show called the bonus show just for our paid subscribers. That is one member benefit. Another member benefit is that instead of watching these 3 to 5 minute YouTube clips of our show, by 4:30 p.m. Eastern time, members get a 1 hour commercial-free video. The entire show, none of this waiting 90 minutes between 3 to 5 minute clips. The full show is available just for you around 4:30 p.m. Eastern time. And on that note, big thank you to Neil Bolton, who has just signed up using the coupon code IVOTED17. Big thank you to J. David Atkins Esquire, who has just signed up at davidpakman.com/membership using the coupon code. Thanks to Howard Buckley, as well as Jan Grummel and Layla Alexander, all of whom, thank you. I mean, it really is flattering that we are growing our support base. And listen, if you've been paying attention to how the Trump administration is targeting not only leakers and not only whistleblowers, et cetera, but also targeting just media outlets who are working with sources. This is a time when you look at that, you look at what's going on with net neutrality, it's scary. It's scary, and the YouTube ad boycott has made it even worse for us, and it's really not a good situation. So I appreciate everybody's support, and I will do another round of thank yous and singing people's praises for doing a great thing very soon. Okay, let's jump back into the super chat and questions, okay? Clarth1234, if you're not familiar with Clarth1234, Clarth1234 is known for sending Spanish language super chats on the live streams to get me to speak Spanish, doing that today with a $5 Australian super chat saying, si la gente sigue apoyando a Trump en este punto, hay algo que les convenza de su impropiedad. Para ellos todo es una falsa noticia. So, okay, basically to translate here, if people keep supporting Trump at this point, is there anything that would convince them about Trump's impropriety? For them, it is all fake news. No, I mean, the answer is no. Trump has said before, he said many times, I could shoot people on Fifth Avenue and not lose their support. Trump has a core group of supporters that either because of ignorance or ideological commitment or simply not wanting to be proven wrong will never drop their support for Trump. That being said, let's take a look at the Gallup Daily Tracking Poll to see where Donald Trump is today in terms of support. I haven't looked. According to the Gallup Daily Tracking Poll, Trump at 38% approval. And that's more or less where Trump has been, roughly between, as low as 35 up to 42 or 43. 38's not good. And that means that there are some Trumpists that are bailing, but there are some that never will. $5 super chat from Kittitude S. Keep up the great work. Thank you. Appreciate the support. $10 super chat from DW Washburn. Hey, David, do you think Comey's testimony will nail Trump badly? Keep up the good work. Well, listen, what we've been doing so far today on the live stream is going through the testimony that has been released that James Comey will be giving. And we don't know what questions there will be. The opening statement from James Comey is not going to be good for Trump. I predict that the Trump administration will focus only on the fact that James Comey will confirm that at 2 separate instances he did intimate to Trump that Trump is not personally under investigation, or at least was not at the time. We don't know if that has changed. The Trump administration will probably focus on that. Of course, we are going to get confirmation of what's been reported in the media that James Comey says he was asked by Trump to drop the Michael Flynn investigation, which borders on obstruction of justice, and that Donald Trump less directly was sort of saying, Jimmy, drop it with the Russia stuff, talking about how the Russia investigation is putting a cloud over his head. So there will be news tomorrow, but I think it will mostly come, particularly now that we've seen what the opening statement will be. The news tomorrow will come from Comey's answers or non-answers to questions posed by senators. Brian Handlin has sent a $2 super chat saying, thanks for sharing. Phil Ayers has sent a £2 super chat. Good work, mate. Nice one. All the best from the UK. Kendall Patel has sent a $2 super chat. No question or comment. Thanks very much, Kendall. And Rosalind Jones has sent a £15 super chat. Keep up the good work. We'll set up regular payments after payday next week. Regular listener in the UK. And Loera Javier has sent a $2 super chat. No question or comment. So thanks to all of you. Very, very much appreciate it. And while we are at it, just a couple other quick, these are starting to come in fast and furious. So a couple other thank yous. New patrons at patreon.com/David Pakman Show. I said it, if you can only pledge $1, pledge the dollar. And Lander Hierro Figueroa has just pledged $1 per month. And I've said it, and I'll say it again, if you can pledge more than $1, by all means do it. And Thomas Rowert has done that by pledging $25 per month. Thank you so much, Thomas. And by the way, Casper Jansen has edited their pledge from $1 to $2 per month. So thank you to the three of you. And on that note, real quick, and we will get back to the politics, more new members. Christopher Murtagh, I'm not sure how to say that name. Murduff. Maybe it's Murduff and it's an Irish spelling. That's interesting. Christopher Murduff and Manny Scott. I guess that's Amanda Scott, short for Amanda Scott. Thanks to both of you for signing up at davidpakman.com/membership. If the normal membership rates strike you as high for your budget, you can use the coupon code IVoted17 on page 2 of the sign up, and that will give you a 40% discount. Last thing, real quick. If and when we get to 2,000 patrons at patreon.com/David Pakman Show, I will do an entire show in studio with my hair as displayed here in this picture I posted to Instagram about a month ago. This is what happens when I don't keep my hair under control with the use of various products and chemicals that I can't really talk about in a public setting. But maybe in private session I'd be willing to talk about. And I've said that I am willing to do an entire broadcast show to our 200 radio and TV affiliates in studio with my hair like that, if and when we get to 2,000 patrons, and we have recently crested the 1,500 patron mark. All right, so a lot going on there. All right, let's talk about, this is a good opportunity, actually. Let me real quick just go, there's an interesting super chat I want to deal with. So Floyd the Fuckbag, great name, sent a $10 super chat. Kaveh Arvab, sent a $2 super chat saying Ethereum is the future, the new cryptocurrency, I believe. Maria Romero sent a $5 super chat. And this GR super chat, it relates to something that I'm going to talk to you about seriously here. GR sent a $10 super chat saying, sorry I'm late, DZ. Was getting you paid, brother. Money in, you're the man. Kellyanne Conway back in pink, baby. I hate her with so much love of my distaste. GR 2017. GR is referring to, by saying that the money is in, GR is donating 6 memberships to the David Pakman Show for people who cannot afford memberships, okay? And the way we're going to do this is GR is known for these incoherent rants via Super Chat that you're seeing displayed here, for example. And the way in the past, we've done different ways of giving away memberships that are donated by viewers. The way we're going to give away these 6 memberships that have been donated by GR is going to be that viewers are going to be invited to send in their version of GR type incoherent rants, and then Pat and I are going to select the best ones, and maybe there will be an audience voting component, maybe not, I'm not sure yet, but that is going to be the idea. And as you can see, GR, quite coherent via email, completely incoherent and known for it in the Super Chat. and very excited and really, really appreciate that 6 memberships have been donated and will be available to people soon. Courtney Haynes has sent a $5 super chat. Proud patron here. Keep up the good work, David. Trump is furiously scribbling his own contemporaneous notes on the back of a napkin right now. My thoughts exactly. And what you're getting at is that there is going to be an attempt to discredit, to discredit James Comey. But the trick is going to be James Comey did confirm that Trump was not making it up when he said, Comey told me I'm not under investigation personally, or at least wasn't at the time. So Trump is going to need to discredit everything James Comey said, except for that thing about I'm not under investigation personally. So that's going to be you're going to have to thread the needle there. Sharice Walker has sent a $5 super chat. Just want to give the trolls something to moan about in chat. Yeah, the trolls hate that the David Pakman Show audience, for the most part, I mean, listen, we've got a lot of trolls. When you're talking about politics, roughly half of the country is not going to like what you're saying, or at least not agree with it. We deal with a lot of trolls. I deal with anti-Semitism on a daily basis. I'm called a cuck probably 1,000 times a week, I would say. We get about 1,500 to 1,750 comments a day on YouTube. And 1,000 a week is too much, but 1,000 a month, there's probably 1,000 comments a month where I'm called a cuck. This is just sort of what it is. And if it weren't for the fact that to balance that out, there are supporters who understand the importance of what we're doing and are contributing and are here supporting, that's a great thing. And I appreciate that, Charisse. Jermaine Zepeda, $25 super chat. David, don't stop reporting on Trump's awful performance. You always hit the nail in the head when you objectively report on this issue. Trump is a fake and a con artist, and his supporters can't see that. Great job, David. His supporters can't see that, don't want to see that, or ideologically committed not to see that. John Paul Hunt has sent a $5 super chat. Bitcoin versus US dollar. Truth with political correctness by the 2020s. Never trust corporations as people post Citizens United. I don't know if that was translated by some kind of auto translator, but I don't know what that is. I don't know what you mean there, John Paul. I apologize. Shauna Powell, $5 super chat. Why do you feed into this Russian narrative with zero evidence? Oh, dear. Listen, I mean, where do you even start? I don't even know if it's worth it, Shauna, because it sounds like you're committed to never saying we should be looking into Russia. It's not normal, Shauna, that you have administration officials lying about meetings with diplomats from other countries, and that the lies are only about meetings with diplomats from one particular country. Why are they lying? Why are they lying? Those lies are concerning. The lies have been included on disclosure forms. Jared Kushner, for example, Michael Flynn, etc. If there is nothing to see, why are there lies? We could go on, right? And you know, if all that will satisfy you is video of Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin meeting secretly on Trump's plane over last summer, you're probably never going to be satisfied. And this is when it makes sense to ask the Peter Boghossian defeasibility question, which is, what would it take to change your mind? If the answer is nothing, you're not a serious thinker, right? There needs to be something that would change your mind. I don't believe that Noah built a huge ark and put 2 of each animal on it. Don't believe it happened. But my mind could be changed, and I could tell you what would change my mind. Reports of that ark from outside of so-called sacred texts. Scientific reports that tell me it's even remotely possible. An explanation as to how you separated animals that eat other animals. And when you had animals that ate other animals, did you have to have extra animals for them to eat during the time that they were on the boat? I mean, I could go on, right? But I have an answer for what would change my mind about believing in Noah's Ark. If the answer is nothing would change your mind about Russia, you're just not a serious person. If what would change your mind is unreasonable and applies a standard that you would not apply in other situations, then I think that would be something to be explored. Okay, so anyway, Shauna, those are some of my thoughts. Chris Rad sent a $2 super chat asking whether I'm debating Kyle Kalinske on Russia or not. Nothing has been proposed. I've said before, I don't know that there's really anything to debate. I mean, what we know about lies that have been told, connections, investigations, those are facts. Beyond that, it's a question of how important do you think that the Russia situation is, but that's not really a debate. But I've said I'll talk to Kyle. I'm heading out for a professional development trip tomorrow, so I don't know when it would happen. But I'm conceivably I'd be glad to do that. Always glad to talk to Kyle. Paul Thompson has sent a $5 super chat saying, "Learned that I get the New York Times for free through my university. Took the cash I saved and got a membership to your show. Good job, David. Keep it up." Wow. Well, thank you, Paul. I really, really appreciate that. And a number of people continue to sign up at davidpakman.com/membership using the coupon code IVoted17. I want to say thank you to David Thomas, who has just signed up at davidpakman.com/membership, paying full price, I might add. Melissa Wilson has just signed up at davidpakman.com/membership, also choosing to pay full price. Alex Charon has just signed up at davidpakman.com/membership, not using the coupon code. But don't worry, if you want to use the 40% discount coupon code, it's available on the second page of the sign up. And again, this is our primary source of funding. And we do a lot of really good stuff for our members, including a daily bonus show only for our paid subscribers. You can use the coupon code IVoted17, delineated by the red arrow. 40% off. You get 100% of the benefits for 40% off. And on that note, thanks to a few other patrons who have pledged at patreon.com/DavidPakmanShow, as little as $1 a month means a lot. C. Denoon has pledged $2 a month. Thank you. James McCullers Jr. has pledged $2 a month. Thank you so much, James. Marius Thomason has pledged $1 a month at patreon.com/DavidPakmanShow. Thank you. And Mary Ruffalo has pledged $5 at patreon.com/DavidPakmanShow. Thank you so much. We are trying to get to initially 1,750 patrons and ultimately 2,000 patrons. A lot more questions here coming through the super chat. Quirky Box has sent a 10, I believe CHF is Swiss francs, 10 Swiss franc super chat. Hi, David. I recently saw your picture on the website banner of Ring of Fire. Do you work with them in some way? By the way, are super chat donations single payments or is the credit card charged monthly? No, super chat donations are individual. Nothing automatic will be charged. Not only do I, well, yeah, so if you go to trofire.com, let me pull it up and see what picture they're using now. You will see that my picture is, oh, nice placement. I'm all the way on the left, sort of first in some way. Yes, I work with them insofar as all of the hosts pictured at the top of trofire.com have their content distributed through the Ring of Fire network at this website. But the professional development trip that I will be taking starting tomorrow is to none other than Ring of Fire headquarters, where I'm going to be checking out their new studio, and we're looking at making some changes and upgrades to our studio, and I'm really looking forward to it. Although I've been warned, they are in Pensacola, Florida. I've been to Orlando. I've been to Miami. Miami Beach is not the Deep South. I've been warned that Pensacola is the Deep South, and it's been a while since I've really been to the Deep South because I've been to Miami Beach. I've been to Austin, Texas, neither representative of what it means to be in the Deep South. And Pensacola, with its closest city being Mobile, Alabama, I've been warned not only about the humidity, but also about what I should expect as far as the politics. So that's that. Okay, GR has sent a $10 super chat. I mean, this is just wacky. Tarl X, Haramble, Polyfufu, Chris Rad, God X of X Path, Clarth1234, DW Washburn, and anyone I missed. It's absolutely my pleasure to help. Too Kind 2017, Tarl, at least someone knows they are rhymes, thank you. Okay. Clarth1234 sent a $2 Australian super chat. Shout out to Eli or Ellie of the Discord. He needs our love. Yes, there is a Discord server organized by some of our Reddit forum goers that is sort of taking on a life of its own. Some of the David Pakman Show Discord members had a debate with the Kyle Kolinsky Secular Talk Discord members. I mean, the viewers are generating all their own content, and it's just such a great community. So check that out. Info about it at davidpakman.com/Reddit. Kevin Carroll has sent a $5 super chat. Late at night when I can't take it anymore, I scream, fucking Trump, into my pillow. What do you do to release your political stress or outrage? I just take a break from it. I mean, I really try to, from Friday evening until Sunday afternoon or evening, which is when I start preparing the Monday show, I really try to avoid paying attention to politics. This is why I'm not tweeting that much on the weekends about politics. And I mean, I feel completely like I've missed 10 scandals by the time I tune back in on Sunday afternoon. But that's one way. And working out, I recommend. That's my advice. Getty Germany has sent a €5 super chat. If they can't afford membership, they might can't afford super chat. Cobb Pfeffi. Greetings from Germany, 1 o'clock in the night here, by the way. Someone tweeted me. It's not common that I get a tweet that actually cracks me up and I laugh out loud. Someone tweeted to me today, David, have you tried making Cobb Pfeffi with David Pakman Show coffee beans, which are available at davidpakman.com/membership, /gear, rather. I don't know why it just cracked me up. Like, how would you try to make Cobb Pfeffi out of coffee beans? What would the first step be? I don't know. Akine has sent a 20 Danish kroner super chat with no question or comment. Thanks very much. One Man, One Truck, I recognize the handle, has sent a $50 super chat. Longtime listener of both you and Secular Talk. Good luck with recouping your lost revenue from YouTube ad cuts. Keep up the good work. Thanks so much. Really, really appreciate that. Stephen Grayer has sent a $5 super chat. Just thought I would help out the failing David Pakman Show. Love the show. Well, listen, with everybody's support, I'm hoping that despite the horrifying reality of the YouTube advertiser boycott, as outlined in a recent Wired article about our show, about our YouTube channel, as outlined by a recent New York Times article about our show, I am hopeful that we will be able to recoup all of the lost revenue and move on to bigger and better things. UPat65 has sent a $5 super chat celebrating my first live stream, my first live stream, and my very first super chat. Yeah, keep up the good work, David. Well, thanks, UPat. Appreciate that. Taveri780 has sent a €3 super chat, maybe the most difficult to answer question. What do you think of James Comey, David? I mean, I believe that James Comey made a mistake by not publicly handling the Hillary Clinton email investigation and the Trump-Russia investigation in the same way, right? Both investigations were going on before the election on November 8th, but James Comey opted to only go public about the Hillary Clinton investigation. I think that was a mistake. I have not actually seen real evidence that tells me James Comey was trying to impact the election results. I could be proven wrong, and I'm open to changing my mind about that. I think Comey made a mistake, and it set off a shitstorm. And by and large, I have found Comey to be a morally upstanding guy. Check out the drama back in 2007 based on what happened in 2004 involving John Ashcroft and Alberto Gonzalez. Google it. Or YouTube it. Do a YouTube search for it. A lot of testimony about that. So I generally think that he's an upstanding guy. I think he got wrapped up in some mistakes and a lot of nonsense, and I'm looking forward to the testimony tomorrow. Frackle has sent a $25 super chat saying simply hashtag lock 'em up. 21st Century Mouse has sent a $5 Canadian super chat. Crisis in Bolivarian Venezuela. If government falls, do you think they will take Bolivarian out of their name? And is this disrespectful to Bolivar? I don't know. I mean, listen, I'm following what's going on in Venezuela pretty closely, and I have been for years, actually. And I don't know about the optics of, the whole Bolivarian Venezuela thing. I think that the people of Venezuela have a real uphill battle, and it's not a good situation. And I really feel terrible. I know people who moved back to Venezuela, I guess it was about 7 years ago, from the U.S., and I'm worried about them and everybody, no doubt about it. Frahaman sent a €5 super chat. Don't have much to say, but here's some money. Keep up the good work. Thank you. Janet Savoy has sent a $10 super chat. Leo it up. I need this show for my intellectual health. Maybe keep it up. Could keep be autocorrected to Leo? I think that's possible. Cezi Canales has sent a $20 super chat. Thank you very much. Tinfoil Hat has sent a $20 Australian super chat. Appreciate that. And Zoe Kneebone has sent a $5 super chat with no question or comment. I really, really do appreciate that. Okay, let me do a couple other membership thank yous just because they're continuing to roll in and I don't want to fall too far behind. Spencer Beal has signed up at davidpakman.com/membership using the 40% discount code IVoted17. Also, new signups from Barbara Moore. Thanks so much, Barbara. Really, really appreciate it. Jeff Phillips has signed up. Jeff, you're the best. Sam Carson has signed up. And Jessica Smith has signed up. Sometimes I can't see the full name unless I actually open up the email. Thanks to all of you. Really, really appreciate that. And also, just incredibly briefly, one new patron as well, Christina Parker, who has just pledged $12 a month. Very, very much appreciate that, and everybody who's been contributing. We have some really, really good stuff planned for the next couple of weeks on the David Pakman Show. First of all, if you don't listen to the podcast or listen to the radio show or watch the TV show, after years of people asking me to interview Peter Joseph from the Zeitgeist Movement and numerous attempts to get Peter to agree to be on the show, we interviewed Peter Joseph earlier this week from the Zeitgeist Movement about his new book, which I don't have here. But actually, where is it? In any case, I'll deal with that later. Don't worry about that. Did a close to half-hour interview with Peter Joseph, which was split on Monday and Tuesday's episodes. That standalone video clip is going to go live on YouTube over the weekend. Really good interview. I encourage you to check it out. Next week, we've got interviews with Jeremy Lent, James Underdown, and Corey Stamper, not to be confused with Doug Stamper of House of Cards fame. And we're already booking out beyond that. We've got a really, really good political correctness long-form piece. And this is a piece we've been working on for a couple of weeks. And I'm going to address both those who believe that political correctness is a hugely stifling burden on speech and those who think that there is no such thing as overbearing political correctness. I predict that either you will find it nuanced and worthwhile and well-researched, or you will think that by not being on one extreme or the other of the issue, that it's bullshit. And I look forward to those comments. Look forward to that. $10 super chat from GR. Was naming people who said some kind words to me, DZ? And I can't be a man of indignity, so I was speaking thankfully. Patriot me? Maybe not, but I be assuredly a packmatriot and thankful to the low. I genuinely question my ability to read English. when we see these rants from GR. And if you missed it, GR is sponsoring 6 David Pakman Show memberships, which will be given away to the people who can create the funniest GR-type incoherent rants. More about that next week on the program. On that note, my hour is up. I've got to pack. I've got to make dinner. I will try to live stream from Ring of Fire Studios over the weekend. And we'll be back before you know it with more in-studio content.